I want to talk about the transition from fiat to cryptocurrency that I think is going to happen at some point in the near future. Also, I think the name for this transition should be called something like the Great Flippening or the Final Flippening or maybe the Last Flippening. But I think it's going to follow the standard technology adoption S-curve where at first it starts out slow, the adoption is slow, and then the rate of adoption increases to some maximum, and then it tapers off, and the laggards, they take a long time to adopt the technology, so it takes a long time to reach 100% adoption. But the bulk of the people adopt the new technology during that middle area where the curve is the steepest, where the rate of adoption is the steepest. And I think cryptocurrencies are going to follow a similar adoption curve, an S-curve, but I think it's going to be a compressed S-curve compared to other technological adoptions. I think the early phase and the latter phase might look similar to other technologies, but I think that middle section is going to be really steep. So essentially just a compressed S-curve. Now I think there's 5 reasons for this. So number 0, and I'm starting at 0 because this one isn't really specific to cryptocurrencies, but there's just the generic speed up of technological advancement. Ray Kurzweil has talked about this a lot. Basically, since when a new technology is being built, it can use all of the existing technologies to, we can leverage those to better build the new technology in a whole bunch of different ways. So in the case of cryptocurrencies, the teams who are building these things have all of the existing tools that have been developed over the years. So they have Slack and Discord and Reddit and Twitter and YouTube and whatever else, all these different ways of communicating and organizing, and they can leverage these to more quickly build the crypto thing they're building. They also have the software best practices that have been developed, especially over the last 5 and 10 years, where things like the source control and code review and testing and all of these methodologies and best practices that have been developed. The people who are building these crypto technologies, they're bringing all of this expertise that they've developed at Silicon Valley or wherever, they're bringing it to crypto, and these tools are going to help speed this process up. Number 1 is the open source nature of cryptocurrencies. So in a field like AI, the work is largely, or some of the work is replicated. A lot, like when a new breakthrough or discovery is made, oftentimes it's published, but not everything is published because a lot of the work now is being done in places like Facebook and Amazon and Google. And when these places, some AI breakthroughs made there, they might publish it, but they might withhold some of it because it's proprietary and it's part of their business model. So that the AI research field is advancing incredibly quickly, despite the fact that it's not as open as cryptocurrencies. So in cryptocurrencies, in the whole crypto space, everything's open, everything's published. So if the Ethereum researchers make some breakthrough with proof of stake, that spec will be published and anyone can implement it. And even the code itself, like with forking, you're take all the work that the Ethereum people have done over all the time that they've been working on it. You can just fork that and then build on top of that. You can't do that with like an Uber. You can't take Uber and take their entire software stack and just fork it and build your own Uber. So there's minimal repetition of work going on in crypto, which is pretty powerful. Number 2 is the fact that these teams are insanely well funded. There's no constraint in terms of money on the teams. So in the traditional, or like in 10 years ago with some of the software companies that were being started, you'd have to convince a bunch of people to leave their job and come to your startup for less money. And if you couldn't convince some people, then you just wouldn't be able to make your thing. Or you have to get people to come in on evenings and weekends and contribute to whatever it is they're trying to build. So in crypto, there just doesn't seem to be this problem. things get funded incredibly easily, and they get funded incredibly well. And this might not continue forever, and there are downsides to this, but there's certainly, it removes the constraint that money has for a lot of these, that a lot of other projects and technology paradigms would have suffered for. Number 3 is that users and investors can evangelize, or they're incentivized to evangelize on behalf of the platform. So Ethereum holders, or any token holders, they're directly monetarily incentivized to get more people to join the network, because then their tokens are more valuable. I can't think of any place where this incentive is so clear. Like if you look at how hard people work to promote their phone of choice, or their, like whether it's Android or iOS, people spend a lot of time promoting their team, and most of those people are not shareholders and they're not being compensated at all. Just imagine how hard people are going to work when they directly make money when more people adopt their currency. It's like having it's like an unpaid, a highly motivated, auto-scaling marketing department that you get for free. So I think that is pretty unique to cryptocurrencies and pretty powerful. Number 4 is this feedback loop, where I think when the transition starts from fiat to cryptocurrency, arguably it's already started, but once it becomes more apparent that there's going to be this migration, then if you're an investor, the logical thing to do is to invest in the new currency. And if you're a regular person and you start hearing that maybe this is what's going to happen, maybe this transition from fiat to crypto is going to happen, then the conclusion you draw is, well, then your fiat's going to lose value and eventually go to zero if the transition fully happens. So if you think it's going to happen, what you need to do is get your money out fast before the fiat value drops, and ride that wave upward, the crypto wave upward. Now, if people start thinking that that's going to happen, then they're going to try and get their money out as soon as possible. And you get this kind of feedback loop where it's like going down a slippery hill, where it starts out a bit slow, but there's some point where once it gets to that point and enough people think this is going to happen and enough people start moving their money, that the feedback loop begins, and there's maybe no stopping it. Where, once the dollar starts to dip and people can see that it's dipping and people on the news or wherever start talking about this happening, then people are going to be running, not walking, to their nearest Coinbase or wherever to take their wealth out of fiat and into crypto. So, to recap, there's just the generic speed up that all technological progress has. There's the open source nature of crypto, so work is not repeated. There's the fact that crypto is extremely well funded, and people don't have to come and do evenings and weekends; they can just work full time. Then there's the fact that the users and investors evangelize. They work hard to pull people in to spread the virus, and there's this feedback loop where once that transition starts, it accelerates extremely quickly. If you can think of anything else, let me know in the comments, and thanks for watching.